Hey friends, happy Sunday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully motivate you to cook more for your family and give you some new meal ideas. I typically try about 3 new recipes every week. It doesn't always work out that way. Some weeks are just like off weeks where I just make a bunch of easy stuff. But this week we did try some new things, so I'm excited to share those with you. As always, any links to recipes that I have will be in the description box. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night, we tried a new crockpot meal. This was listed as like a 3-ingredient Italian beef and noodles meal on TikTok is where I found the video. So in your crockpot, you just need to add in like 1.5 pounds of stew meat, a package of Italian seasoning mix, and a stick of butter. And then that's it. And then let that cook on low. I think I did like 8 hours. And then when it's done, all you need to do is go in and shred up that stew meat. And then I made some egg noodles on the side and stirred this in. I read the comments like before making this, and a lot of people said it wasn't like saucy enough for them, so they ended up adding in like a packet of gravy and some water, and they did that at the beginning. I decided to just like kind of see how the recipe turned out, and I agreed with them that it wasn't saucy enough for my family. Some people don't like a lot of sauce, some people do. So what I ended up doing was taking 1 package of au jus, the gravy mix, and mixing it with 1 cup of hot water. And then when that was fully dissolved, I stirred that into the noodles, and then it was perfectly saucy for my family, and it turned out delicious. We all loved this. Had it with some green beans on the side. And next time I make this, I will definitely just go ahead and add in the 1 cup of water and the au jus sauce at the beginning and let it cook all day with that. And yeah, that's the only change I would make to this recipe. Saturday night, I made some... Why can't I talk? Saturday night, I made some sheet pan Soyaki salmon and vegetables. So I'm starting off here with some carrots, and I'm cutting those up into about even sized pieces. And then I'm also cutting up some sweet potatoes. Lily and I are the only ones that like sweet potatoes. I saw some recipe on Pinterest, but this is like only loosely based on that. But they only used sweet potatoes and broccoli. And I was like, well, I have 2 people in my house who don't like sweet potatoes, and I had some carrots on hand, so I just decided to throw those in there. And the potatoes and the carrots are going to take longer to cook than everything else, so that's why I'm getting started with just those first. So I got them all diced up, and then I put them in a bowl, and then I just drizzled them with some olive oil and salt and pepper, and then got them on a sheet pan. And these went in the oven on 425 for 15 minutes by themselves.
I pull into your driveway, it's a Saturday night. You look like $1,000,000 wearing that dress I like. You're smiling, but there's something missing in your eyes.
While my sweet potatoes and carrots were cooking, I went ahead and cut up some broccoli, added it to the same bowl, and also drizzled on some olive oil and salt and pepper. And then after the 15 minutes, I pulled out my sweet potatoes and carrots, gave them a toss, and then added the broccoli on there with them. And then I just spread everything out and also drizzled it with some of the Soyaki sauce from Trader Joe's, and then just tossed it around again to make sure everything was coated, and then spread it out in a nice even layer. And then this went in the oven on 400 for another 25 minutes. While that was cooking, I prepped my salmon. I have 4 salmon fillets here, and I just sprayed them with a little bit of olive oil cooking spray, and then put on a little bit of salt and pepper. And then again, I'm using that Soyaki sauce from Trader Joe's. The stuff is delicious, and it's really good on salmon. So I just put some of that on each little fillet and just tried to keep it on there and not so much on the pan. I wanted it more on the fish. And then this could have gone on the sheet pan with the veggies and stuff, but the salmon doesn't have to cook as long as all that stuff. So I just found it easier to put it on its own little small sheet pan, lined it with some parchment paper. And then at the very end of like the cooking for the vegetables, I can just throw the salmon in the oven instead of having to pull that other sheet pan out and put the salmon on there. So about 12 minutes before the veggies were done, I stuck the salmon in, let that cook. And then at the end, I just pulled everything out and everything was done at the same time. I served this over some white rice. We used some of the like sauce that was still on the pan from the salmon to like put over our rice, and it was delicious. Everyone loved it. I really loved the sweet potatoes cooked this way. I didn't know if I would like it with that soyaki sauce, but everybody thought everything on this dinner was amazing. Sunday night was a super simple dinner for me. I had these beef schnitzel in my freezer. They've been in there for a couple months now. I bought them at Aldi on clearance, and I've been meaning to use them up. They did not have air fryer instructions on them. They only had like pan fried or deep fried instructions. So what I did was spritz them with a little bit of olive oil cooking spray, stuck them in the air fryer on 400 for about 8 minutes, flipped them over, spritz them with some more olive oil cooking spray, stuck them back in the air fryer for about another 8 minutes. They came out perfectly crispy and golden brown, and they were delicious. We really liked them. I just served them on top of some mashed potatoes that I made in the Instant Pot with some brown gravy on top and a can of cord on the side. Whenever I see these again, I will definitely pick up another box. Monday night we tried a new recipe called Bruschetta chicken pasta. So I'm starting out with my tomatoes here. I have about a pint of grape tomatoes that I have sliced in half. And to that I'm adding a third of a cup of chopped basil, about 5 cloves of minced garlic. That's more than the recipe called for, but we love garlic. And then I did some salt and pepper, and then a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Tossed that around, made sure everything was coated, and then I put a lid on this and stuck this in the fridge. It said you just wanted to let this marinate in the fridge for a little bit while you work on everything else. Then for my pasta, I decided to cook up some thin spaghetti. I think the recipe said regular spaghetti, but we have a bunch of like thin spaghetti and angel hair from my father-in-law. So I decided to cook that up. Next, I have about a pound of chicken breast that I've diced up. The recipe said to season it with salt and pepper and Italian seasoning, and that was it. But I also went in with some garlic powder and some onion salt. And then in a large skillet, I'm heating up 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then once that's hot, I'm going to throw my chicken in there and just let that cook until it's fully cooked through. At this point, when the chicken is fully cooked through, the recipe said to remove the chicken and set it aside, but I did not see the point because we're just going to add it back in. So I just went ahead and added in my bruschetta mixture and then just let this cook for a while. The recipe said for only 1 minute until it was heated through, but I wanted to cook it down a little bit more than that. I ended up cooking it for like 5 to 10 minutes. Those tomatoes got really soft, and then I was able to like mash them, and then it kind of formed like a little bit of a sauce. And then when I was cooking my pasta, I also saved some pasta water, so you're gonna see me add that in at some point too, just because I wanted it to be a little bit more saucy. Once my sauce was looking how I wanted it to, then I just tossed in my cooked pasta and then sprinkled this with a bunch of Parmesan cheese. And that's it. You could also drizzle on some balsamic glaze, but most of my family doesn't like that. I'm like the only one who really likes it. So I just drizzled that on my bowl. And then each of the kids also had a little bit more Parmesan cheese on theirs. If you know, Elijah doesn't really like tomatoes, so I just picked out like the chunks of tomato for him, and he just had like noodles and chicken. But everybody thought this was really good. I did make a few like alterations to the recipe, but with those alterations, I think I would definitely make it again. Tuesday night, we had a family favorite. If you've been here for a long time, you know this recipe. This is my taco spaghetti. I didn't show me making it only because it has its own separate video That video is like from the very early days of my What's for Dinners, but it's its own standalone taco spaghetti video, and everyone who's ever made it always tells me that they love it. It is so cheesy and taco-y and delicious. And if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend going and checking out that video. It will be linked down below. Wednesday night we had barbecue pulled pork, baked potatoes. So Lily and I had ours on sweet potatoes because we absolutely love the barbecue pulled pork on sweet potatoes. And Andy and Elijah just had theirs on some regular baked potatoes. I cook them the same way. I'm stabbing holes in all of them and then spraying them with a little bit of olive oil cooking spray, sprinkled them with some salt, and then put that in the air fryer. It took about 45 minutes, and halfway through I flipped them over. I do them on about 375. And then while those were cooking on my stove, I heated up some pulled pork. A couple weeks back, I made a bunch of pulled pork in the crock pot, and so this is one of the bags of the leftovers. And I just put it in the pot with a little bit more barbecue sauce and let that warm up. And then here is what our potatoes looked like when they came out of the air fryer. They are so good. The skin is crispy and a little bit salty and delicious. And then we just mash them up with a little bit of butter and salt and pepper, and then top it with our pulled pork, a little bit of cheddar cheese, a little bit more barbecue sauce if we want it. Lily said she wanted sour cream, so I also did sour cream on mine, and a little bit of green onion. And Elijah is simple. He just likes cheese on his. And I think that's what Andy did too, just more barbecue sauce and cheese and barbecue. And that was it. This is one of our favorite ways to actually eat leftover barbecue pulled pork. Thursday night we had some chicken drumsticks that I made in the air fryer. This is not a cut of meat that I typically buy, but my father-in-law had some meat in his freezer that he wanted used up and he knew he wasn't going to use, so he passed it along to us. And I was like, you know what? I'll take free food. That's fine. I will cook these up and we will enjoy them. So I seasoned them all over with some onion salt, garlic powder, smoked paprika, salt and pepper, and some lemon pepper. And then I flipped them over into the same thing on the other side. I also spritzed them with some olive oil spray. And then these went in the air fryer on 400 for 12 minutes. Then I flipped them over and did them for another 12 minutes on the other side. At the end, I just stuck my little meat thermometer in there, made sure that they were fully cooked, and they turned out great. I love cooking any kind of like skin on chicken in the air fryer. The skin ends up super crispy and it's so delicious. And as I said at the beginning, like, I don't love to cook drumsticks. It's just not my favorite. I think I ate them a lot as a kid and they just turned out to not be my favorite. I would much prefer to eat like a chicken thigh. So that's what I usually buy. To go with these, I just kept it simple. We had some Kraft macaroni and cheese on the side and some green beans. I like hot sauce on my green beans. I also like hot sauce with my chicken, so I had some hot sauce to dip my chicken leg in. And that was it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. I hope that you got some new meal ideas. If you plan on trying any of the recipes that I shared with you today, let me know which ones in the comments down below. Also, make sure you leave me a smiley face emoji down there in the comments to let me know that you made it here all the way to the end. I hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday for the grocery haul. Bye!